Alright class, good day. We will be looking at IGCSE Biology Paper 6, Alternative to Practical. These are in 8 parts. We are going to be starting with the part 1 today. We are going to learn about magnification, drawing, tables and graphs. Okay. We are also going to learn about some rules that are involved in carrying out all these tasks. So follow me, join me as we proceed to learn. Okay, let's talk about what the syllabus even expects from us. The syllabus for alternative to practicals and practical alike, both 40 marks. Today we are focusing more on alternative to practical, which is just 1 hour, 60-minute question, and then we have to be sure of what we want to do so that we can manage our time judiciously. So let's look at drawing. Let's start with drawing. Let's look at the rules involved in drawing. The first is that the pencil we need to use must be well sharpened, must be pointing. We need to be sure that any outline of our diagram should be clear enough and also very precise. No shading is allowed, and then your size of the size of the diagram must be big enough to cover every part of the space provided. No use of sketchy lines, and arrowheads must not be used at all when you label, and the lines of label must touch directly the object you are trying to label. Let's look at some questions and how to solve them. This is a question, a past paper that requires a student to draw a wood louse. Now, let's assume the student draw it this way. There are yardsticks required to draw to decide what this child will score. Well, this question is meant to be 4 marks. So let's look at what to expect and what the masking says. So the outline of this drawing, is it clear enough? If it is, that's 1 mark, and of course without shading. I think this person gets this 1 mark. Then the size has to be bigger than the original size of the wood louse. It's either the same or larger size. So I can see this diagram is big enough, bigger than the original size of the diagram. So that makes this person score the 2nd mark. Then the number of body segments should be at least 8. I can see even more than 10 in the diagram. Again, this candidate has done justice to that. Then if you look at the front and the back side of this diagram, you see there are projections, two projections each. So this person also gets this well represented. So this person has scored 4 out of 4 marks. So this is how to do justification to your drawing. Let's go into magnification. I use the word aim to remember magnification, AIM. So what am I aiming at? What is A, what is I, and what is M? Let's start with I. I means image size, usually in centimeters or millimeters. A is millimeter, is actual size, usually in millimeters or micrometers. And magnification usually begins with a multiplication sign. It has no units. So you could say that you will need to learn how to convert from one unit to another. Sometimes you may be using a ruler graduated in centimeters and you are required in the question to provide your answer in millimeters or even micrometers. How do you convert? So that is why we are going to be introducing the conversion scale you are seeing right here. So a question can appear this way. You may be given a line PQ in the diagram. Just know that anything you need to measure from the question paper, especially from the diagram provided, is the image size, not the actual size. Okay, like here we have the image size, which you can determine with your ruler. A magnification is introduced, is given to be times 130. So from here you know how to find your actual size. If you measure your PQ in millimeters using it directly, you most likely get your actual size in millimeters as well. So you may need to convert to micrometer depending on the question. So that's why it's important for you to know how to convert. So take note of all the requirements down there. So let's talk about the tables and graphs. Tables can come in these different forms. Of course, we have more other types of representation in tables. But I want to call attention to something here. I want you to know that the headings of the table provided in either the column or the rows must come with the units. So please ensure you put the correct units at the headings of this table. When I say headings, these headings could be at the columns, some other times can be at the beginning of the rows, because all the values, all the numbers you are going to put in the table must have no unit at all. So take note of that. And then in IGCSE Alternative to Practical Paper 6, at least 2 columns are expected. So anyhow you want to draw your graph, your table, ensure that you work with at least 2 columns. And then other details which we've talked about, you need to observe them. Then you need to work with the same level of approximation for each column. So if you are working with 2 significant figures, it has to be 2 throughout. If it's 3 significant figures, it has to be 3 throughout. Most times IGCSE will make you complete a table, but sometimes they can make you fill a table from some data they are provided. So please ensure that everything must be rhymed to the same significant figure. So if you see some in 2 significant figures, other in 1 significant figures, or you may need to calculate some that may not even be up to that significant figure or higher than that significant figure, please, you have to rhyme it up. All must be the same significant figure. So let's look at graphs. There are different types of graphs to expect in IGCSE. It could be a straight line, it could be a curved line. You need to know what you mean by line of best fit. Line of best fit require you to consider most of the points to be in pattern, to fall into an existing trend or pattern. For example, the first one is straight line curve, the straight line graph there, have most of the points rhyming on the straight line, but we can have 1 or 2 or 3 deviating from the line. So in the case like this, to make your line of best fit, you have to make sure that you do judgment to the number of points that are away from the line. Make sure about the same numbers are on either side of the line, if you can, especially when the numbers falling out of the line are even. But if they are in odd, just make sure you don't put too many on one side. Like in this case, we have about 7 points to be represented here. 7 values are plotted here, but 3 are falling out of line. So 2 on one side, 1 on the other side. So that is justifiable. Okay, and then the points falling off the line should not be too far away from the line. So you need to do justice to that. That's what I mean by best line of fit. For sometimes, IGCSE permits you to join all the dots. You won't be penalized for doing that, at least as seen in many of the past papers. So we can also have a curved line follow a similar principle. Now let's talk about 2 similar but not the same charts. Bar chart and histogram. They are both having bars, but bar chart we usually have a gap in between. We always have a gap in between the bars. But histogram have everything joined together, though there could be initial space as you can see there. So please take note of the differences between bar chart and histogram. Okay, we are going to be ending the first part here. We need you to join me for the next part 2, where we have to be planning an investigation. But do me a favor, before you leave today, please help me to like this channel, share the channel with your friends, and subscribe so you can always have a notification anytime I upload a new video. Thank you so much. See you in the next class. Have a nice day.